you've essentially told your brain this is important. And so now whenever you see it, your brain no longer filters that out. It allows you to see it. So the importance of writing your goals is that it will allow you to now see things that are connected with your goal. It will help you get there faster. The whole idea is that you start to create almost like an ecosystem to support your goal.
I love that. And that makes total sense. You know, one of the things that came to me as I thought about mental endurance was like unchecked emotions.
Ooh.
And so like one of the things I can say that I'm very blessed is that my mom was like a glacier. She raised me to put my feelings to the side and just do what I had to do and then feel whatever I feel after I'm done with the assignment, right? After I'm done with the work. And so when I think about...
Hey there. Ever feel like college is just one big mental marathon? On today's episode of Academic Survival, we're diving into mental endurance. You know, how to keep going when school gets tough. Why your why matters, and some real talk on figuring it all out, even when life throws you curveballs. So buckle up, my friend. This one is for anyone determined to cross that finish line. This is the Academic Survival Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Shandra McDonald. Statistics show that approximately 40% of students drop out of college every year. In fact, nearly 30% drop out their first year. Well, I am on a mission to improve these stats.
Welcome back to Academic Survival. It is me, Dr. Shandra, and...
Dr. Dar.
All right. Today we are going to be talking to you about mental endurance. You go to elementary school, junior high school, and high school because the law requires it. You're supposed to be in school, getting an education as a minor. But now, as you transition to college, that is, in many cases, a self-inflicted wound, right? If you don't like school and you sign up for more of it, it's like, because here's the thing. If you don't show up for class, no one's coming to look for you. No one's going to go to your parents and say, this is a minor, they're supposed to be in school. Nope. It's not going to happen. So, you know, we just want to talk about mental endurance. What does it look like to sign up for this academic journey? And when it gets tough, like, how do you handle it? So...
You know, it's so funny that you say that because, like, I think my whole entire undergrad journey was mental endurance. Like, so I have a degree in criminal justice. I know you have a degree in criminal justice. And where we differ is I had no reason in the criminal justice field like I had no purpose in it. Whereas you found a lot of purpose in yours. Yeah. And so what I think that for me, the mental endurance just really came at understanding that going to college was going to get me indoors that not being in college was not going to get me into. I would even say my idea of getting a college degree was all about making sure that I can live a lifestyle that was beyond what I knew as a child. And although I really, really can't really, I can talk about reading work that I didn't feel like I could apply it to anything because I wasn't working in the field, or doing research on things that I necessarily didn't really care about, but not really knowing what I care about as it relates to the college experience. It really changed my perspective on school. It was more like, instead of doing this to build skill, it was doing this to live a lifestyle. And so I think sometimes you got to know your why, right? Although I didn't build any skills in criminal justice, what it did was get me to the next step, which was the master's program. And once I found a field that I actually was passionate about, I started caring more about what I was reading. I started caring more about what I was doing with my degree, or what the goal was with my degree. And so I knew when I started a master's program, I wanted to be an educator. I knew that I wanted to work in a college setting. And then going into the PhD, even when, you know, the time was like 7 years of the journey, I knew that I wanted to become faculty. And so there was something in front of me, right? And so as you think about your why are you enduring this thing? you got to think about what is the goal.
When things get tough, the ability to focus on where you're going, because there's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be something to distract you. And obviously, if that were not the case, everybody would have a degree, right? If it wasn't challenging, everyone would have one. But it does require that extra. And it requires you to really know why you're there. For some people, it might be because, their parents say it's required. You're going to continue to live here, or you're going to be in school somewhere. Everyone may have a different story, but whatever it is, the key is it has to be important enough to you in order to stick it through. For me, I wanted a better life than the one that I had. And my mom didn't go to college. And it was basically, how do I have a better future? How do I have a future that I can take care of myself? And I saw things in life that I wanted. I knew that education was going to be that door for me. And so for those of you who at least know enough about yourself and you've experienced things in life to where you have decided, I know that education is the door for me to improve my lot in life, so to speak, then knowing what that goal is and sticking with it. For me, I love Post-its. So I love to write things that are positive affirmations, Post-its, and put it on the wall. I am definitely one who believes in setting a goal and writing that goal on the wall. And even if it means saying it every day, I believe that helps to keep me focused. I don't think there's magic in doing that, but I think that it helps to keep you focused. I know that there's studies that talk about, oh gosh, what is that thing called? The something reticular activation, something. It's like, it's
now
like,
you're getting smart on them.
I'm gonna have to find out what it is. Anyhow, it's reticular activation, something or other. And anyhow, it's like, once something is important to you, you start to see it everywhere. So example, once you buy a car, once you bought that car, now it's like everybody's driving.
Everybody got the car.
Everybody's got it. And
or even if you like the car.
Yes. You start to see it everywhere.
All the time on the street.
Yes. Your brain takes in so much information that it's got to figure out what to filter. What is actually more important than something else? Once you've decided that you like that car, you've bought that car, you've essentially told your brain this is important. And so now whenever you see it, your brain no longer filters that out. It allows you to see it. So the importance of writing your goals and saying your goals and staying focused on your goals is that it will allow you to now see things that are connected with your goal that you would not necessarily see had you not written it down or actually made it the goal. So let's just say that you decide that you wanted, say, an electric vehicle. Well, once you decide that you want an electric vehicle, you probably now see the electric vehicle charging stations that you probably never, everywhere, or because you know that you're going to need that, right? So it's connected to your goal. So once you decide, whatever your goal is, you will start to see things that are connected to your goal that will help you get there faster. That could be people, that could be resources, that can be specific faculty, that could be joining specific clubs. The whole idea is that you start to create almost like an ecosystem to support your goal. So that's the importance of writing it down. It helps with that mental endurance.
I love that. And that makes total sense. One of the things that came to me as I thought about mental endurance was unchecked emotions.
Ooh.
And so one of the things I can say that I'm very blessed is that my mom was like a glacier. Okay. She was like an iceberg. She was just cold, right? And so in a lot of ways, she raised me to put my feelings to the side and just do what I had to do and then feel whatever I feel after I'm done with the assignment, right? After I'm done with the work. And so when I think about mental endurance and, people kind of being, not necessarily overly emotional, but just letting their emotions get in the way of their goals. Oftentimes what you do is you get frustrated within a subject. And so now as a child, you've been telling yourself, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at writing. I'm not good at English. I'm not good at reading. And then that translates into your behavior, right? And so now every time you got to read or every time you got to do math problem or every time you got to do English, you start feeling frustrated. just off the rip. You don't even know what's expected of you, right? You don't even know what the requirements are, but you're already kind of putting yourself in a box of limitations. And so what I need you to know is like, you can do hard, complex things. That's what your brain is literally created
Absolutely.
for.
Absolutely.
Right? If you only can do singular, one focused things, you will be an animal. Like you would literally survive straight off instincts all the time. But as a human being, you have the ability to critically think. And I think what we don't oftentimes do is critically think about why we're feeling the emotions that we're feeling as it relates to the subject or the requirements or the work that needs to be done. Oftentimes we're just over exaggerating or underestimating how much time is actually going to take or how much work is going to actually take into it. That's an emotional response to it versus just saying, this is what I need to get done. What do I need to put into place in order to make sure I get it done?
Yes.
And so like I can say that I was super successful at college, not because of my grades, but because I just didn't let things rattle me. If I was depressed, I was going to do it depressed. If I was sad, I was going to do it sad. If I was upset, I was going to do it upset. I didn't connect my emotions to my progress or process. I only connected to the outcome. And so I was satisfied when I got the degree.
Right. You know, you're talking about your mom was a glacier. My mom was not. She was not a glacier. However,
be okay with me saying that too. I just want to make sure. I'm just not saying this though. Yeah.
My mom is super smart, but at some point I reached certain levels in my academic journey where I couldn't turn to my mother for help. And so her thing was, get back in your room and don't come out until you know how to do X, Y, and Z. That was, yeah, whatever it is. I remember like in elementary school, I was awful at spelling and my mother is an excellent speller. And so
my mom
I would,
is too. She did all the word puzzles in the newspaper every week.
Yeah. So I remember when I was in elementary school, I know we're talking about college, but this is my story. I remember preparing for a spelling test. And I would go in her room and hand her the words and I had to stand in front of her and spell these words. And I would just mess them up. And she'd just be like, go back in your room and don't come out until you know how to spell these words. Because my first instinct is to wing it.
Yo, I could see my son being like, 20 years from now, like, my dad made me go back to my room until I figured it out. Oh my God, traumatic experience.
And so, well, here's the thing, though, is that because she said, go back in your room and don't come out until you figure it out, until you know how to spell these words, that told me that I had the ability to figure it out.
That's growth mindset right there. That's growth mindset.
Yeah, it told me that I had the ability to figure it out. Like she had the confidence that so you just haven't put in the effort. And it's true, because I used to think either you had it or you didn't. Either you were smart or you weren't. Studying wasn't a thing because I bored easily. I bored easily as a child.
Yep.
So go back in your room and figure it out. But like I said, it taught me that one, I could figure it out. And two, things were hard for me early in life. And so hurdles in college, that wasn't new to me. I was used to struggling. The mental endurance really was continuing to build upon that foundation of I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like I am an expert at figuring it out to the point where I can take like a statistics class. My statistics class was so hard, my doctoral statistics class. And I had to figure it out. But like my figuring it out ability is literally sometimes getting, I think I got an A. I got an A- once semester and an A the second semester. I think that's what it was for statistics. And I know today I could not pass that. You may not need to know this information forever, but figuring it out for right now. And so
I think that's excellent. I was just a master at pushing through. And I can even connect that back to my emotional trauma of like losing my brother at an early age and losing my father. And, you know, like not necessarily like to, you know, any kind of like life situations, but like my mom and dad divorced and that took a toll on me as a young age. And really emotionally, I just pushed through those experiences. Like, I didn't go to counseling. I mean, I kind of started seeing a counselor a little bit after my mom and dad divorced because, like, the school heard about it. And so the social worker kind of pulled me in to kind of have some conversations. But at 7 years old, you don't really know how to talk about, well, at least at that time in the 90s, right? 7 years old in the 90s is a little different than some of these kids today, right? But I didn't know how to articulate. And so I just knew that if I quit on a lot of my life goals. Right? So like if I stop going to school, then I'll never get the house that's really big that's around the corner from our house that I always walk by the school. And I always wonder, how do people have these nice houses or these nice cars that I walk by going to school? And I'm like, how do people have these nice cars? Clearly, they must have some kind of education. And so I just continue to move forward because I'm like, until I get the lifestyle that I'm looking for, I'm going to continue moving forward in the path that I believe God put me on. And so education was the path because I tried to go to the Army. They was like, no, you got asthma, right? I was even like thinking about like, how do I go straight to a work field where I can just get some technical experience? But my teachers, my counselor would never put me in the tech courses. I even tried to take workshop and my allergies was so bad that I could not pay attention in class. Right. And then I even tried to take the computer science class, which was the class right next to it. But also it was connected to the workshop. And so again, this is in the 2000s. The ventilation system in the public schools ain't that great. And so clearly God just had me in this path where I'm like, you gonna figure out how to go to college and do something people oriented. And so
I had a colleague who I mentored for a little bit, and there was a target job that she wanted. And she was working as like an administrative assistant in a specific department, but she wanted one of the main jobs in that department. And she was working on her associate's degree, but she also ended up landing the job that she wanted. And so after she got her associate's degree, she was like, I think I'm done. I'm not going to continue and get a bachelor's degree. And her own words, she didn't want to let me down by not continuing to go to school. And I was like, oh my gosh, you won't be letting me down? This is your life. This works for you. Then obviously do that. This is the end of your academic journey. That's fine. But let me tell you this. I've never heard anybody say they regretted getting their degree. And I have a billion times heard people say, I really regret
not getting the degree.
Not getting it. No one says, oh, I regret getting it. They just don't. They may
Especially
not
for
like the
people
fact
who come from communities like us.
Yes, exactly. And so she went back. She got her degree.
That's so
She got her bachelor's degree.
You know, that makes me think about the student who has every reason to quit, right? You lost a parent, you know, you got a diagnosis, potentially a child is acting up in school or needs some extra support, right? You got a child that has special needs, or a friend or a sister or brother that has special needs, right? You have experienced divorce. Maybe parents are depressed or going through grief, lack of support, lack of finances. Like there's so many reasons as to why you shouldn't continue. And I want to tell you, like, the one thing that I've learned is like when you quit on yourself and your journey, you literally quit on your vision for your future. For any of the students that are going through hardship, what I need you to know is like the reason why you're going through hardship is so that you can have a great testimony on the other side. I remember being in my first PhD course and getting a Facebook message that my sister overdosed.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, what? Like, changed my whole mood, changed my whole attitude. But then in a lot of ways, I could have took that and been like, all the stuff that surrounded my sister's death was just wild. She didn't have a funeral. We ended up seeing her coming straight out of the freezer box. We had 5 minutes to look at her, and then they took her away and, you know, burned her body. So much wild things happened with that changed me. But one of the reasons that I say this is because your family member, the thing that the person who believes in you would never want you to use as an excuse to quit. if my sister heard that I quit after she passed away, she would not be happy with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like she would totally be upset that I allow for her life circumstances to impact my life circumstances, especially when you're seen as the one, right, in your family, or you're one of them ones in your family that everybody's like believing that you're going to make it. I can understand how that feels like extra pressure, but the reality of it is that it's extra belief. And sometimes you might not have the belief in yourself. And so you got to believe in what other people see in you that you don't see in yourself. Yeah, that's a big one for me.
That's good. One of the things that I see about us is that you're big picture, I'm detailed. Like we have such different sides of the story and how we can talk about things. For me, my mom, like I shared, was like, get back in your room and don't come out till you figure it out. And then for me, like I always had to just something inside of me. I think if anything, it was this drive to prove that I wasn't stupid, this drive to prove that I can do it, because I never really had anybody rooting for me. In elementary school, my teachers weren't nice to me. I remember my 6th grade teacher, I was always just wearing a coat in class, and I was just cold, you know? And my teacher didn't like the fact that I wore my coat in class. It's like she made me take it off in class because it's like you're inside and it's not cold in here. But I was cold. My mom had to get involved, calling the school to say, if my daughter is cold in class, she's going to keep her jacket on. From that, I remember in high school, I had a teacher who had like a little flashcard, and he had just a dash on the flashcard. And I'm like sitting, it was a math class, and I was just sitting in the class, like working on my assignment, and he gets my attention and he's holding up this flashcard with like a negative sign on it, 3x5 card. And I'm like, what? And then he's like telling me, you're negative. I'm like, I'm a student trying to do my homework. Why are you distracting me, telling me that I'm negative? I can tell a lot of other stories, but essentially I didn't have anybody who was rooting for me or telling me that I can do it. For me, like the driving force was, you got to prove them wrong. You got to prove that you can do it. You got to prove them wrong. From the figure it out to the I got to prove a point was really my push and I got to get to the end. Yeah. I want a better life, and I know I have what it takes to be able to figure it out, and I got to prove people wrong.
That's so good. You know, we all need some kind of guiding philosophy that helps you keep going, and you might need multiple, right? So like what I'm hearing is you can't just have one, because there's different times where you might be sad, and so you need something that picks you up. Or you might be competitive, and so you need something that pushes you harder. Those are some of the things that I think about. Like for me, I kind of teeter in the competitive, and then kind of more like just staying in like, instead of like moving in helplessness, like staying in hope. But as I think about your story, how do you tell students that are going through different emotional phases, or how do you advise people who are going through different emotional spaces to kind of keep going? Like, what are your ways to kind of like get them to think deeper about what's on the other side?
I remembered another story, and I think that I'm going to be able to tie the two together. I remember when I was in elementary school and then went to junior high school, and on the last day of junior high school, returning to my elementary school to visit my favorite teacher, right? Finished my first year of junior high, go down to the elementary school to visit my favorite teachers. My best friend and I did this. And my best friend was known for killing it in the spelling bees, right? I was not. I was not known for spelling. I was not learned for math. I was known for talking in class, okay? I did better in junior high than I did in high school, first year junior high. And so the teacher asked, well, how did you guys do? And my best friend was like, she kind of struggled a little bit. And I was like, I actually did pretty good. And this teacher said, wow, I would have expected that to be the other way around. What? Why would you tell us that? Why would you tell me that? To connect that was just another example of just, one, no one really being there for me, but also like just really feeling really boldly about their disbelief in my capabilities. So your question for me was, what advice do I give to someone?
Yeah, before you answer that question, I got something. I got some.
Okay.
On the journey of being able to be successful, what I'm hearing is that every journey of success, there's warfare.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So I wanted to this is coming to me, right? Because as I think about some of the teachers that I've had that didn't believe in me or that saw me as a chatterbox that did not want to learn, or I was a distraction to the good students in the class. Right. Because I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't a great student. And so I got put with the bad students. It always happened. Right.
Okay.
And you have to know that there is warfare happening around your success. Yes. And so the enemy, the adversary, always wants to see you lose, always wants to see you doubt yourself, always want to see you not necessarily believe that you can have the level of success that you see in your mind. But you have to understand that it's not about winning each battle, it's about winning the war. Right. Yeah. And so the war might be middle school. The war might be high school. The war might be getting the college degree. The war might be getting the master's or the doctorate. But each battle is going to be its own battle, whether it's a class, whether it's in a class. It's so many battles on the journey of academic success that you have to find a way to survive. Right. Yes. You got to find a way to fight another day. And when that's another piece that we got to think about. We talk about resilience, right? We talk about achieving. We talk about understanding that all of these emotions are a part of navigating success. Like you can't just always be happy. You got to find some way to move forward even through sadness. Or you can't always have joy. You might have to find some way to keep moving forward through depression. That's warfare.
What I'm also hearing you say is that warfare can be internal or external.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not other people that doubt you. It's you that's doubting yourself because of what you've experienced with other people or what other people have said about you. Like that teacher was like, oh, I thought you would have been, right? I was the least likely to be a person that has a PhD out of my graduating high school class, right? Least likely. But it's so funny. I applied for a scholarship from a guy who literally created the scholarship for students who are academically underachieving. Oh. And I was the only one who got it that was academically underachieving.
Look, you can't get worse than this. Let me show you how underachieving I am.
Right? And so crazy, like I got the lowest scholarship dollar amount at the onset. But in the following years, I got the highest amount because I showed the level of growth in my academics as a college student from high school. And so again, it's not about winning each battle. It's about winning the war.
And each roadblock, each hurdle, it's just the resistance that makes you stronger. You get over one and you take on the next one.
Yep. Because like the reality is like your muscles only get stronger when you break them down.
Yeah.
That's the only way. And you can plateau when you do the same workout for over a extended amount of time. Like if you're not changing it up, switching it up, putting yourself in more uncomfortable situations, right? So your body can readjust and continue having that growth that it's looking for. And so like for you, for the students out there, if you're in a place where you're uncomfortable battling some of the problems that you have or some of the stresses that you have, it's literally because it's pushing you to be able to resist more.
Yep. The thing that's so, I guess, just so true about it all is that we just wouldn't choose it, right?
We wouldn't.
We wouldn't choose it. Like,
it's got to choose you. That's what you said? It's going to.
You know, aside from, intentionally going to the gym to have that resistance that we know will help build the muscle, build the strength, when life is putting that weight on you, it's not something that we would choose. It's not like, hey, I think I want to struggle with depression this week, or hey, I think I want to have car trouble. None of it's anything that we can choose.
Yep.
We would never sign up for it.
I guess going back to my one question is like, what advice do you have for people who are going through these emotional battles? How do you help them keep going?
If you need professional help, seek it. Most universities have mental health professionals or a way to connect you with mental health professionals. If you're not dealing with something that requires you to get that additional type of assistance, you just got to know that it's not going to last forever. It just really isn't. There was a time when it wasn't present, so it's not going to last forever. And all depending upon what it is, you just got to keep going. I'm reminded of, Finding Nemo? Just keep swimming. Like, you just have to keep going. No matter how long the pressure is going to last, the days are going to keep coming regardless. So just keep going. I remember when I was leaving high school, going into college, and having some friends who didn't want to go to college because I was like, that takes 4 years. 4 years are going to pass regardless. So you can either have a degree in 4 years or not have a degree in 4 years. The point is that the time is going to pass anyway.
Time is going to pass.
So find out what you want to have, show for it, and just keep swimming. In this particular case, just keep studying. Just keep moving. It's that one step in front of the other, and before you know it, you're done.
Yeah. It's just staying in the process until it's over. And the process isn't over until it's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. You know, as I hear you saying that, I think it's also really important for folks to find joy in the journey, right? And so if you're literally just putting yourself in school because you believe that you're supposed to be there, but you're not finding the joy, I don't think that it could be one, depression. So again, seek help. It could be something that's paralyzing you, anxiety, right? So seek help. But if it's not those things, it literally could be because you're too comfortable. Like you're just going through the motions. You know, you're on autopilot. The cool thing is like autopilot gets you there.
It will.
It doesn't know how to react to storms. And so you need to take the wheel sometimes. You can't just be on cruise control because cruise control doesn't necessarily take account for traffic, right? Depending on the car you got, it might be able to slow you down.
We have some different technology now.
Right,
It just might.
You know, the thing is like, I'm not saying like it won't slow you down. It will slow you down, but it won't make you not get into an accident. I get it. It will literally make sure that you're safer, but it won't totally stop that incident from happening. Only you can do that. And so when you see those things coming, you have to really put yourself in position to take the wheel. And so some of that is like not being overly committed, right? So like you can't be in 19 things and thinking that you're going to really find something meaningful when you're involved in 19 things. Like that's hard. Like it's hard to even do 5 things. You know, in college. But then I think it's people who are undercommitted. And so it's like, I just go to class and I hang out with my friends when I see them, and that's it. Like I do my homework. Cool, but unfortunately, there are people who are probably stretching themselves too thin, right? You can stretch yourself too thin, but stretching themselves just enough so that rubber band doesn't pop. One of the things that the cool thing about rubber bands is it's meant to stretch. It's meant to hold things. But also what you know about rubber band, if it never stretches, it get dry and it can break really easily. And so be like a rubber band, right? Be willing to stretch, but know when you're stretching too far. But also be willing to be used. Don't be in college just going to classes. Like you got to actually like be able to say like, this is how this college experience is actually helping the community, right? And so I want to make sure I point that out. To wrap it up, to recap, understand that success is meant to be challenging and you need a growth mindset and your mental to endure through any of the things that's happening. And so instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You should probably ask, what do I need to learn from this experience to keep going?
If there isn't a challenge, there is no success. The term success is indicative that there was something that you overcame or that you were challenged in something or you were persevering. Like that is what success is.
I think it's assumed that you did have to overcome something in order to be successful.
Because that's literally, literally what it is.
Yeah. And that's the testimony. That's what makes it feel that much grander, knowing that you had to overcome so much to find the success that you found.
Yeah. Say if you ran a race and you got first place, later we learned that there was no one else in the race. It was just you. That's not success, right?
I mean, you finished it, so it is success. I just don't know. I don't know how many races in the game of life you win where you're the only one in the pool. Mm-hmm. You're the only one in the race, right? Mm-hmm. You're the only one that's applying for the college. You're the only one that's applying for the job. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen very often. But when it does happen, I think you have to realize it was meant for you to finish that race.
Maybe it's that the trail, the journey is the competition.
Mm-hmm. It's you versus you.
Yeah.
It's you versus you. And so you got to get on that trail again to see if you did better. It's you versus you.
So for you, what would be 3 things that you would say that students will need in order to have mental endurance?
Yeah. You know, when your mental is fluctuating, you know, you need something that's going to help you keep the goal in mind and keep your why in front of you. And so the first thing that I have for students is a schedule and a routine.
Okay.
And so that changes, of course, every semester. And so making sure that every semester you're mastering your schedule and your routine. The second thing I think is to find mentors, and specific mentors that's doing the thing that you want to do. And so you can talk with them about challenges that they've faced in the journey where they was trying to become. And they can give you some literally practical advice on how you can take those things and apply them to your life. And especially when they're doing the thing that you wanted to do, they're giving you direct insight into the pathway that you're on. Then the third thing I think is to not isolate yourself and to really be in community. And so find other students that are a part of your major, find other students that are interested in the things that you're interested in, find other students that are maybe even struggling and need accountability so that you can have the community of success. You know, I loved it that like I was always in community with kids who were going to college. And so that's how I got to college. Literally, a freshman in my high school teacher pays for a college tour for me. Or I'm a senior in high school, but my best friend graduated high school and was already a freshman in college. And so I'm already going to college, like hanging out because I was in community with people who were finding success in that direction.
That's good. I would like to say the 3 things that students should do. Definitely maintaining a focus on your goal. Again, like I said about the Post-it notes, like have that in front of you. I love the fact that you said having mentors and being in community. I think that for someone who doesn't have a mentor, sometimes you can find a book where you may not have a physical mentor in front of you, but you can be mentored through books. Finding a book that helps to encourage you and move you forward. As far as like being in community, we weren't designed to live life in isolation. We just weren't. That doesn't mean you can't have your quiet time or your me time. I am all for that. But living life in isolation is just not healthy. Whatever it is that you're trying to pursue in life, whether you're going to be working with people or you're going to be impacting people, so you're going to need to be connected in order to have an impact. And so I too agree with the community aspect. I also believe that the 3 things that you mentioned are also applicable to life after college. You know, you're going to need to have a routine and be on some type of schedule. Even when you transition to the workforce, it is going to be important for you to find mentors in the workplace. And if you can't find one, again, you can rely on a book to help you learn new things. And then again, not being in isolation. So even in the workplace, there are business associations. So whatever it might be in the field that you want to be in, there's usually some type of community that's dedicated to that type of work. So there you have it. Mental endurance. Thank you, Dr. Dar.
Thank you, Dr. Shandra.
That's
That's it for today on Academic Survival. If you want to share your story on how you survived your freshman year of college, you can reach me at info@chandralmcdonald.com. We'll be back next week with more ways to survive your academic journey. Until then, happy studying.